Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
And this is Wise Women's Wednesday. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I am delighted that we get to share it today. All of us, especially us sprinters. Hello to Carol and Kathy and Doris and Jackie. It's good to have you all here. I'm really excited about this week because what we're really focused on this week is our priorities. And if we're sprinting, hello, that's in our priorities, isn't it? It's in our priorities list. That dictates our actions. That dictates what it is that we do. That dictates not letting obstacles and things get in the way, but instead figuring it out, because everything is highly figure outable. Have you noticed that? Excuse me. I have a little weird summer cold that's just really bothering me. It's good to hydrate, by the way. Hey, listen, stay hydrated, people. Did I tell you about Mark? I'm going to tell you about him. Jeanette, hello. Good to have you here, and Lizzie. So Mark and I were swimming after we played pickleball, and we just said, let's just put our suits on, take the dog down, and go hang out in the lake and just swim and float and all of that. So we did. Had a beer, because every once in a while, a really ice cold beer, gosh, it just tastes so good. It was late in the afternoon, and so we did, and we just floated and floated, floated. Mark is getting cramps up and down his legs. And do you know what that is? That's dehydration, people. Dehydrate. And I was like, are you kidding me? What about drinking your hot milk mix? What about, all of this? So, word to the wise. Are you wondering why your legs are cramping and you're sweating and all of that? You're dehydrated. That's what it is. We got to stay on that. We got to stay hydrated. And I'm so glad that this is the the week that we can stay really focused on our hydration stations and making sure that we're getting adequate hydration. Really important. Speaking of hydration, this goes in my water bottle, by the way, with my hot milk mix, because Crave Water is thebomb.com, by the way. Tastes like lemonade, but it's the L-glutamine. And I'll tell you, the other thing is L-glutamine helps with muscle soreness, as well as taking away cravings, as well as helping to heal your leaky gut. Those are the biggies for me. And I'm all about that. I appreciate that. I want that in my life. Don't you? Of course you do. Hi, Sue. I'm glad you're here. Anyway, so you can find Crave Water, by the way, at savingdinner.com/Crave Water. It's just back in stock, but it's going fast again, because this is delicious. Tastes like lemonade. No weird anything in it. No sucralose, yada, yada. So go get it. It's delicious. Also, Carb Cutter is our supplement of the week. If you buy one, we're going to give you one free. Buy one, get one. Buy one, get one. Sue loves it. You've had yours. Isn't it delicious? I'll tell you, do it with ice cold water and you will just be completely refreshed. The other thing that's nice about it is it dissolves well, even in ice cold water. That's important because, we want it to dissolve because it tastes so good. So buy one, get one. Carb Cutter is white kidney bean extract. Do you know what that does? It blocks the absorption of carbs. And that helps because, sometimes we have too many carbs in our lives, and too many carbs in our lives. Well, you know what that does? Puts on the big tire around your belly, and we don't need that. But sometimes we want a baked potato with our steak, right? Well, that's how you take care of things. So Carb Cutter is the bomb. I love it. I use it. I keep a bottle in my car, in my purse, on the counter, because those, you know what? I'm gonna eat a potato every once in a while. It's just gonna happen. And some rice every once in a while. Not on sprint weeks, but I burn a lot of calories out there on the pickleball. Refresh my water, nice and cold. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Look, Sue and Lizzie know they use it. This is what Crave Water is about. Anyway, buy one, get one. Savingdinner.com/show. That's where you get that deal. And it's a screaming deal, people. It is a screaming deal. All right, we are going to just jump right. Oh, and don't forget about our free shipping, by the way. Lynn, hi. I like to see you here. Thanks for coming. Our free shipping we give to people who buy $300 worth of stuff, and then we say thank you because we absorb the shipping costs. We do it because that's our big thank you to you. We appreciate your loyalty. It's really important to us. And understand we can only do it for the lower 48, but heck, that's most of our audience. So thank you to you. We appreciate you. We know you have other choices, but you've come to us, and that means a lot to us. Your loyalty is everything. Hi, Alice. I'm glad you're finally here. Have you seen our quote of the week? It's a biggie. It is a biggie. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. This is from our friend Darren Hardy, the former editor of Success Magazine and the author of The Compound Effect. His book was very impactful on me. It was one of the big things that I used to just really go, wow, I got to start thinking about these things, because the essence of the book is the things that you do daily compound. In other words, it's like compounded interest. Every single day there's compounded interest, right? We don't like that because, compounded interest, I mean, we like it when it's in our favor, but not when it's not in our favor, right? Because it just adds up. That's exactly the whole point of the book. It's very, very excellent book. And it dovetails nicely into what we're talking about this week, which is priorities, because our priorities always show up in what we do and not what we say. And if what we're saying and what we're doing are the same thing, boy, doesn't it feel good, doesn't it? And we walk, we flow. We don't just walk our talk, but we flow. Things go easily. We're not struggling so much. And yesterday we talked about Stephen Covey's book, as you know, 40 million copies sold. Wrote it in 1989, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Great book. I don't even know how many languages it's been translated into, but it was on the New York Times bestseller list for 5 years. What does that tell you? That's an incredibly effective book. I've read it. I've listened to it. It is a great book. And Stephen Covey, walked his talk. He taught his children these lessons with his wife. They raised 5 successful kids. And he sadly passed away at the age of 79 due to a biking accident, of all things. So I was really sad when he passed away, because he was a real voice, and sane and just even keeled, and everything about him. You like my headbands? These are just bandanas. And I always do this right after I play pickleball because my head is a sweaty mess and nobody wants to see that, right? This isn't oil, this is sweat. But he also wrote another book that people really don't talk about that much, and it's called The 8th Habit: From Effectiveness to Greatness. I thought that book was stellar. And I thought that book is so impactful on how we align our priorities. And it just dovetails again nicely into today's topic, this week's topic. And it also helps us to understand things just a little bit deeper and a little bit better. And you're going to be surprised at some of these bullet points that I'm going to share with you, because they're things that we've talked about a lot. And I had no idea that it basically came out of his book. This book came out in 2004. I don't know the status of how many copies, et cetera, it sold. I'm sure it did well, but not like the classic. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that, because what he does with this book, because remember, the 7 Habits book was in 1989. This is before the internet. And then 2004 comes, in time goes on, and he's going, hey, this is the information age. This is the internet. Things are changing. Things are shifting. And so what he's looking at is doing the challenges of this information age and how to move from just being effective to being great. And I think regardless, now this you could make a case that this is really set up for organizations, but I'm going to use it in the context of community because we're all a part of a community. As a matter of fact, we're a part of a sisterhood. If you are a part of the Hot Milk Sprint community, it's an incredible sisterhood. And every single principle that I'm going to share today absolutely applies to you. It applies to me. It applies to the entire sisterhood. It moves the needle on how we can do better than doing just a mere community and elevate to the place of being a sisterhood. You ready to get going on that? So his summary then on priorities is that first of all, first and foremost, we have to find our voice. Yeah, we have to find our voice. That's absolutely important because when we find our voice, we help other people find theirs. Everybody's always, we look at each other. Unfortunately, there's a lot of comparison. Unfortunately, there's a lot of envy that goes on and maybe even gossip. That happens a lot. But if we can get beyond that, again, elevate higher vibe, the whole bit, and understand that in the context of priorities, we can discern what truly matters and set our activities up and our goals up around the essentials because the essentials do matter, don't they? Of course. So it's about our daily tasks, and our daily tasks speak volumes. You know what they say? They say, this is your deepest value and this is your highest aspiration. That's what your daily tasks say. So when we especially go through the time block sheet and go, oh my gosh, I've spent 4 hours in front of the TV or 3 hours scrolling Facebook or whatever, then you can see that our deepest values end up being social media and TV. That's where the time is spent. Then that's the question mark that we have to bring in and say, is that really my priority? I mean, I looked at that for myself, right? Because Mark likes to watch TV at night. Most husbands do. That's what they do. They just want to sit their butts down and whatever. And I'm like, finally, I'm just like, I can't just sit here. I feel like I'm just sitting there and just turning into a puddle of mush. Can't. So there's things I can do. I mean, dumb things like stuff that's been in the back of my mind, like cleaning out underneath the sink, for example. What if I did that? He can watch the TV. I can go do that. But this is just what I'm saying is we can plug our priorities into where they weren't before and start taking out the time that's being eaten away by things that just aren't a priority. And if you remember yesterday, I showed you the quadrants. Whoop, whoop. Remember the quadrants? Oh, does that show? Right, the quadrants. And we want to spend our time in the quadrant 2, which is the not urgent but important quadrant. That's where we want it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to watch yesterday's show. We want to be looking at that. When we stay in alignment with our priorities, we're inspiring others to do the same because everybody's constantly looking at you. And what happens is it creates a community that is not just effective, but truly significant. And I feel like I can say with my full heart, that's what the Hot Milk Sprint community is all about. That's what that sisterhood is all about. It has elevated itself to that level. And it's only because of people aspiring and being significant, setting examples, and continuing on. You can see this over and over again. Just go in there and scroll around and take a look. It really is aspirational in there. And it is something that there's a takeaway for everyone, absolutely everyone. So let's look at some juicy bullet points from this 8th Habit book, because I think this is really, it's going to help us get our priorities straight and really align with our priorities so that our actions are speaking our priorities. Amen. Number 1 is to find your voice. Now, when you find your voice, not only are you speaking your truth, not only are you speaking up for yourself, but you're also speaking about your passion. You're aligning your priorities around that passion. So getting healthy and well should be a passion, right? Being healthy and well and feeling good in your own skin needs to be a passion. Otherwise, what's going to happen if you just take it for granted is something's going to come along and wallop you down, and all of a sudden you're going to say, "Whoa, what just happened here?" Well, this is, this is why we talk about this stuff. And your passion is the intersection of talent, passion, need, and your conscience. All of these things come together. All of these things play into finding your voice and using it. Isn't it so cool? How, I mean, this is something that we've talked about, right? And number two is to lead with influence. And before anybody says, well, I'm not a leader, I'm not leading anything. Yes, you are. We all lead simply by being in a community, being in the sisterhood. And what we do is we prioritize by leading by influence rather than having a positional authority. I do that myself. I have the positional authority because it's my group. I started it. It's my program, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like my influence is more impactful when I show you what I do. My influence is going to be much better if I lead with my example. That's how it is with parenting. That's how it is in the workplace. That's how it is everywhere. And we can all take this into consideration, is that your example matters. Are you walking your talk? Are you doing the things that you say you're doing? Are you being an example? It's a simple thing to ask. That's your influence, by the way. And we all have an influence, whether it's negative or positive. And it's really important that we tighten it up and take a look at how are we doing here, right? Number three is the whole person paradigm. Okay, understand what this is. This is understanding the multifaceted nature of who we are. Heart, mind, body, soul. We have to look at ourselves as whole people, whole women. We can't just look at the dress size. We can't just look at the lipstick. We can't just look at how we do at work. It's the whole package, folks. It is the whole thing. And when we understand that, we live differently. We live an elevated lifestyle. We live a way that's honoring to the wholeness of who we are. And when we do that, don't you think that's honoring God too? He created us. He put us on this earth on purpose and for purpose at this time for a reason. Your influence is important. You understanding the wholeness of who you are and being honoring with all of it is essential. And it keeps your priorities in place. Amen. Number four is blending voices, because in communities, we prioritize sharing a shared vision, right? We have a shared vision. Everybody knows what you're talking about. This is why it's so important. We have a mission, and we blend our unique voices into a beautiful chorus. There's harmonies there. And this is what I say, this is the sisterhood. This is the celebrated sisterhood that we have on a daily basis. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a rare thing. Do you know how many groups I've started online? I have been on Facebook since the beginning and started the groups when they started allowing us to have the groups. I've shut so many down. Ours has not shut down. It is alive. It is well. It's thriving. Not everybody contributes, of course. That's just the way it is. But 20% always do. That's the 80-20 Pareto principle, I believe it is, the 80-20 rule. But the 20% that do contribute are passionate about their lives. They're passionate about their whole person. They're passionate about others. They care. They're there to lift one another up, and they're there to get advice and support, encouragement, and to also be a voice of encouragement. Also, not to just take, but also to give. Because if it's just take, there's no balance there. There's no love there. Have you ever been in a relationship when somebody's just merely taking all the time? It doesn't feel good. You feel taken advantage of. It doesn't feel like love. It feels rotten. So these are things that we need to do. We need to blend our voices into the harmonious part and be a part of, contribute, and also to take and receive. It's important. This is how we keep our priorities in place, by the way, too. And we see others for the important people for who they are. And we understand that not only are we here on purpose and for purpose, but so are they. And they're in your community, in your sisterhood. So what does that mean? If we see them with those eyes, there's so much love there. right? There's so much care there. And there's just a little bit more patience. Number 5 is the sweet spot, because we have to prioritize activities and roles where your passions, where your talents, and the needs of this whole world intersect. Of course. You have to. You've got work to go to. You've got to get to sleep at a decent, go to bed at a decent hour. You got all these things, and juggling and figuring it all out. Well, it is figuring that out. Where is your sweet spot? Is it getting up and having your golden hour first thing in the morning, like I talked about yesterday? Or is this something that, it's in the evening, and you can go into our Facebook group and go in and encourage a bunch of women, tell them a little bit of story, see, this is what's going on in my day, and check others too. Not just say, hey, this is all about me, but also check in with others, because that's how you say, I love you. That's how you say, it's not just about me, it's about all of us, right? That's a priority. The other thing is shifting our priorities from just achieving success to also becoming significant. And I think this is so important, because a meaningful difference is something that people glom onto for good reason. When you see something that is significant, when you see something that moves the needle, or somebody who's doing something, or somebody who's offered just that one precious word of advice, it means the world. I can go back and tell you times in my life where somebody's words meant the world to me. It changed my life. You have the same ability to do that. And it didn't just drive success, it made me feel significant. It helped me to create significance too in other people's lives. We get testimonials all the time. And the ones that I hold dearest to my heart are not the ones, oh, I weighed this and now I weigh that and this, that, and the other thing. The ones that really get my heart are the ones that say, this has changed my life. This has made me see myself with all new eyes. This has really moved the needle in my life. And then I think, mission accomplished. Because my mission is to help women to see themselves for the significant, wonderful creatures that they are, to stop being invisible, to stop saying, well, it's all over. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. And to start seeing that this next chapter is our most important, impactful one. And yes, our significance matters, and so does everybody else's, and we can have an impact on that. That's a priority that gets put into place when we are living our priorities as well. Does that make sense? I sure hope so, because to me, I can see the cycle. I can see the beauty in how this whole thing works and feeds each other. It's a beautiful thing. And then we also have to be in this place of continuous learning and renewal. The world constantly is changing. Have you noticed? There's all kinds of stuff going on. So we have to constantly be learning. We have to constantly be renewing our spirit, our hearts, our minds, our souls, our bodies. We have to keep going, right? And all of this calls on us to see ourselves, again, back to this whole thing, as the whole person, heart, mind, body, and soul. This is how we become significant in our community, in our sisterhood. And it's also the way that we express our priorities, and our priorities get worked out in our lives, right? There's times when you're saying, I don't know how that's all going to work. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. But isn't it interesting that when we make a decision that says, I'm going to live my priorities, that somehow or another, it all does work out? Doesn't it? Sure, it does. And sure, you're not going to do it perfectly, but I will tell you, you will do it excellently. The 8th thing is that empowerment is part of the equation. And when we prioritize empowering others, we get them from being dependent to being independent. And then from this place of independence, where I get it, I've got it, whatever, there's an interdependence that happens. That's the sisterhood right there. And that's the beauty of a mature, ever evolving, ever growing community. It becomes such a thing. because of the quality of the people and the contribution and all the rest of it. These are women who have their priorities in place. And their priorities in place will roll out and in front of you and in front of everyone to become part of the sisterhood. Because we're all doing the same thing. We're all on that same page, right? And then the other thing is value driven decisions, because those decisions are so critically important. When we base our decisions and priorities on deeply held values rather than reacting to external circumstances, we get to become our very best versions of ourselves, right? We become proactive. We are doing the things to keep the ball moving down the field. We stop with the crazy, just reactive stuff. Being reactive is, I don't know about you, but I will look at any time that I'm like overreactive or whatever. Usually I'm writing an apology or saying something or doing something, having to make a phone call. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve the community. It doesn't serve anyone to be reactive. We need to be proactive. If we are proactive and we're communicative, and we are giving our very best, living our priorities, not just talking about them, but actually living them, things just seem to come together. And it comes together with everybody else as well. Have you noticed that? Have you seen that in our group? I have. And then the last one is synergy, because there's the power of the collective, right? And there's power in collaboration and saying, I'm just at a loss. What do I do here? And then all of a sudden you have all these women who are on the same page coming to your rescue saying, you know what? Here, have you tried this? Have you thought about this? Maybe try, maybe do this, maybe do that, whatever. And what we see is that we have there's value in all these diverse ideas. Maybe they're not all perfect, but they will be excellent because their hearts are in the right place. They're looking to help and better you. They're looking to hold you up and give you value for the answer to the question that they're looking for. And when we can do that, there's the diversity that's there is helpful. The many voices that are there, we can listen to. And you know what else we can do? We can love every single one of them up because they've come alongside because they care. This is part of the whole thing, because I believe that when we are living our priorities in real time, in real life, day after day, not only are we saying I love you to ourselves, but we're saying I love you to our neighbor and to our community members and to the sisters. Because living your life in the way that is not digging a hole and burying your talents is a way that says thank you to God and has gratitude for the life that you've been given. If we're mission driven, then we're going to see things in this light. We're going to be putting our values and our priorities out there and actually living them, not just giving them lip service. So that's what I think a wise woman will do when she understands her priorities. What do you think? I hope you found that helpful today. Tomorrow can you believe how fast this week is gone? We're going to wrap the whole thing up tomorrow, and it's going to be something, I hope, that blesses you. As usual, if you have any questions with anything, send me an email, support@savingdinner.com. I'm here to support you. And if you missed any of the announcements at the very beginning of the program, well, you know what to do. Go to savingdinner.com/announcements. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.